$300. That is the number. Not $300 to start and then more later. Not $300 plus whatever we already had at home. We cleared out the pantry, started from scratch, and built a full year of emergency food for 2 adults on exactly $300. And before you say that sounds impossible, I want you to stay with me through the math. Because by the time we get to the end of this video, you are going to see every single item we bought, exactly how much each one cost, and exactly how the numbers add up to 12 months of real, nutritious, edible food for 2 people. No shortcuts, no tricks, no fine print. This is the video a lot of people have been asking for since we did the $200 6-month build. The logic of going bigger is simple. 2 people need roughly twice the food. A full year is roughly twice as long as 6 months. So the number we were working toward was somewhere around $400. 2 times 200. But we decided to try to come in under that, and we did it. $300, 12 months, 2 people. Here is every single item. Before we get into the list, I want to explain the framework we used. Because walking into a warehouse store with $300 and no plan is how you end up with 18 months of white rice and nothing else. The framework comes down to 4 things. The first is calories. 2 adults, eating at a moderate level, need roughly 3,600 calories per day combined. That is 1,800 each, which is a reasonable number for people who are not doing heavy physical labor but are not completely sedentary either. Over the course of a year, that works out to approximately 1,320,000 calories for both of us. That number sounds enormous, but bulk staples are extraordinarily calorie-dense, which is why this build is even possible on $300. The second is nutritional balance. We are not just stocking calories. We are stocking a way of eating that will keep 2 people genuinely healthy over an extended period. That means protein, fat, complex carbohydrates, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. It means thinking about the difference between surviving and being well. The third is shelf life. Every single item on this list has a minimum shelf life of 2 years under normal storage conditions. Most of it has a shelf life of 5 to 25 years if stored properly. This is not emergency food that expires before you ever need it. The fourth is practicality. Everything on this list can be prepared with minimal equipment. Most of it needs nothing more than water and a heat source. Some of it can be eaten directly from the package or can with no cooking at all, because if you ever actually need this food, you may not have access to a full, functioning kitchen. Now let us get into the actual build. We are starting with grains, because grains are the caloric foundation of everything. If grains are your engine, everything else is fuel and maintenance. The first purchase was 50 pounds of white rice. We found a 50-pound bag at a warehouse club for about $22. I want to be very clear about why we chose white rice over brown rice, because this comes up every time. Brown rice has more nutrients in its natural state, but brown rice has oils in the bran that cause it to go rancid within about 6 months. White rice, stored in a sealed container in a cool, dry location, will last 25 to 30 years and still be perfectly edible. For a 1-year emergency pantry, white rice is not a compromise. It is the right choice. 50 pounds of white rice contains approximately 90,000 calories. Let that sit for a moment. 90,000 calories from 1 bag of rice. The second grain purchase was 20 pounds of rolled oats, about $14. At the same warehouse, oats are one of the most nutritionally complete grains available. They have fiber, protein, iron, and complex carbohydrates. They cook in 5 minutes with nothing but hot water. 20 pounds gives us roughly 34,000 calories and will stay fresh for 2 to 3 years in a sealed container, longer in cooler storage. Third was 10 pounds of dried pasta, about $8. Pasta lasts 3 to 4 years. It cooks quickly. It pairs with almost everything. It provides both of us with comfort food, which matters more than people acknowledge when things are stressful. Fourth was 5 pounds of all-purpose flour at about $3. Flour stored in an airtight container lasts 1 to 2 years and opens up an entire category of cooking flatbreads, simple dumplings, pancakes, thickeners for soups. It is flexibility in a bag. Fifth was 4 pounds of cornmeal at about $3. Cornmeal gives us cornbread, polenta, and variety in the rotation. Without variety, appetite fatigue sets in, and appetite fatigue is one of the most underestimated challenges in any extended emergency food situation. Total for grains, about $50. Total calories from grains alone, approximately 135,000. That is already 37 days of food for both of us, from the grain category alone. Next, we move to legumes and protein. Legumes are where the budget build becomes genuinely powerful. Nothing else gives you as much protein, fiber, and nutrition per dollar as dried beans and lentils. First purchase in this category, 10 pounds of dried black beans, about $9. Black beans are high in protein, high in fiber, rich in iron. And when combined with rice, they form a complete protein, meaning together they contain all 9 essential amino acids that the human body cannot produce on its own. 10 pounds of dried black beans represents approximately 15,000 calories and enough protein to make a meaningful contribution to both of our daily needs across months of eating. Second was 8 pounds of dried lentils, about $10. Lentils are the most practical legume in the entire category because they require no soaking overnight. You go from dry lentil to fully cooked lentil soup in approximately 30 minutes on a single burner. They are rich in folate, manganese, plant-based iron, and complex carbohydrates. For a 2-person emergency pantry, lentils are close to indispensable. Third was 8 pounds of dried chickpeas, about $10. Chickpeas open up an entirely different flavor profile from black beans. They can be turned into hummus with minimal equipment, added to stews, or roasted for a high-protein snack, if you have an oven or a pan with a lid. Fourth was 6 pounds of dried pinto beans, about $6. Pinto beans are the classic all-purpose bean. They pair with rice, go into chili, work as a side dish. They are the utility player of the legume category. Fifth was 8 jars of peanut butter, 18 ounces each, about $24. Total peanut butter is one of the most calorie-dense, protein-rich, shelf-stable foods that exists. 2 tablespoons contains approximately 190 calories and 8 grams of protein. It requires 0 preparation, can be eaten directly with a spoon, spread on crackers, stirred into noodles, or mixed into sauces. For 2 people over a year, peanut butter will get used. We made sure we had enough of it. Total for legumes and protein, about $59. Calories added, approximately 48,000. Now we build out the canned vegetable and fruit section. This is where nutrition comes in beyond raw calories and macros. Canned tomatoes, 20 cans of crushed tomatoes, about $12. Canned tomatoes are the flavor base of hundreds of meals. They add acid, sweetness, and vitamins to anything they touch. They transform a bowl of rice and beans into something that actually tastes like food. Canned corn, 12 cans, about $8. Corn adds sweetness and variety. It gives both of us something that, in the context of repetitive emergency eating, feels like a treat. Canned peas, 10 cans, about $7. Peas are higher in protein than most vegetables and add color and nutrition to stews and rice dishes. Canned green beans, 8 cans, about $5. Green beans are a source of fiber and vitamins that round out the nutritional picture beyond what beans and lentils provide. Canned spinach, 8 cans, about $6. In a long-term pantry build, canned spinach is doing serious nutritional work. It is one of the best shelf-stable sources of iron, calcium, and vitamins A and K. It is not the most exciting thing we bought, but we bought it specifically because it fills gaps that other foods leave open. Canned carrots, 8 cans, about $4. Carrots provide beta-carotene, which converts to vitamin A in the body. Vitamin A deficiency is a real risk in extended emergency food situations, and canned carrots are one of the most affordable ways to prevent it. Canned fruit, 16 cans of mixed fruit and peaches in their own juice, about $12. In a year of eating from a stockpile, having something sweet and fruity matters psychologically as much as it matters nutritionally. We chose fruit packed in juice rather than syrup to keep sugar levels reasonable while still getting the vitamins. Total for canned vegetables and fruits, about $54. Now we get to the canned protein section, which is where the build starts to feel like actual food rather than survival rations. Canned tuna, 48 cans, about $48. This is our single largest expenditure in the canned protein category, and it is intentional. Each can of tuna contains approximately 25 grams of protein. Tuna can be eaten cold, directly from the can, mixed into pasta, stirred into rice, turned into a simple salad with olive oil and canned vegetables. It lasts 3 to 5 years. For 2 people over a full year, 48 cans is actually conservative. Canned chicken, 16 cans, about $32. Canned chicken transforms every meal it touches. Chicken and rice, chicken with pasta and tomato sauce, simple chicken soup. Having real shredded chicken available without refrigeration is one of the things that makes emergency eating feel like actual cooking rather than subsistence canned salmon. 8 cans, about $14. Salmon provides omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and calcium, especially if you eat the soft bones. These are nutrients that are genuinely hard to get from the rest of this pantry build, which makes canned salmon one of the most nutritionally important purchases on this entire list, even though it is not the flashiest canned sardines. 12 cans, about $10. Sardines are pound for pound, one of the most nutritionally complete foods available at any price. They are dense in omega-3s, calcium, vitamin D, and high-quality protein. They are also extraordinarily cheap. We know some people find them unpleasant on their own, but cooked into pasta or stirred into rice with strong flavors like garlic and tomato, they become something genuinely good. Total for canned proteins, about $104. We have now spent roughly $317 across all 5 main categories. But there are 2 more categories we have not touched, and they are the difference between a pantry that works and a pantry that will actually sustain 2 people through a full year: fats and oils. This category is the one most often skipped by people building their first emergency pantry, and it is a serious mistake. Fat contains 9 calories per gram compared to 4 calories per gram from carbohydrates or protein. Fat is the most energy-dense macronutrient that exists. Beyond energy, fat helps your body absorb fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, and fat makes food taste good, which is not a trivial concern when both of you are eating from the same pantry every single day for 12 months. 2 large containers of vegetable oil, 64 ounces each, about $14 total. Vegetable oil lasts about 2 years in a sealed container and is used in cooking almost every meal. In this build, 1 large container of coconut oil, 29 ounces, about $9. Coconut oil is more shelf-stable than most vegetable oils, has a higher smoke point, and adds flavor to plain grains and legumes that makes them significantly more palatable over time. 2 bottles of olive oil, 16 ounces each, about $12. Total olive oil is used raw as a finishing oil, drizzled over cooked legumes and grains to add richness and flavor. It is the simplest way to make plain food taste like food someone chose to eat rather than food someone had to eat. Total for fats and oils, about $35. And then there is the flavor shelf. I have said this before, and I will keep saying it. This category is not optional. This category is the difference between two people who can sustain their morale through a difficult situation and two people who stop eating properly because they cannot face another meal. Appetite fatigue is a documented, medically recognized phenomenon in emergency and survival situations. It is what happens when the food you have available is technically edible, but so monotonous that your body and mind begin resisting it. The solution is not more expensive food. The solution is seasoning. Iodized salt. 2 large canisters, about $4 total. Salt is essential for flavor, for food preservation, and because it is iodized, for thyroid health. Iodine deficiency is something you do not want to discover in a year-long emergency black pepper. 2 jars, about $4. Self-explanatory and essential garlic powder. 2 jars, about $4. Garlic powder transforms rice, beans, lentils, and pasta. It is one of the highest impact seasonings per dollar that exists. Onion powder. 2 jars, about $4. Paired with garlic powder, these two cover the flavor base for an enormous range of dishes from dozens of different culinary traditions. Cumin. 2 jars, about $4. Cumin makes beans taste like actual restaurant food. Cumin and canned tomatoes together over black beans or lentils is a genuinely satisfying meal, not a compromise meal. Chili flakes. 1 jar, about $2. Heat adds complexity. It slows the pace of eating. It makes familiar food feel different, which is one of the underappreciated ways to manage appetite fatigue over a long period. Bay leaves. 2 packages, about $4. Bay leaves added to any simmering pot of legumes or grains add a depth of flavor that is wildly out of proportion with their cost. Smoked paprika. 1 jar, about $2. Smoked paprika adds a completely different flavor dimension from regular paprika. It can make a bowl of beans taste like it has been near a fire, which, for certain dishes, is exactly what you want. Soy sauce. 4 bottles, about $8. Soy sauce is umami in concentrated form. It makes rice dishes taste savory and complete. It contributes salt, flavor, and depth to any dish it touches. Apple cider vinegar. 2 bottles, about $6. Vinegar brightens flavors, cuts through richness, and makes simple food taste more complex. It is also useful for basic food preservation if you have access to fresh ingredients. Hot sauce. 4 bottles, about $6. For 2 people over a full year, 4 bottles of hot sauce is not excessive. A single dash of hot sauce can completely change the experience of a familiar bowl of food. Bouillon cubes. 4 packages, a mix of chicken and vegetable, about $8 total. Bouillon dissolves in boiling water to create broth instantly. This single ingredient turns a pot of plain rice into soup. It turns a pot of lentils into a stew. It is one of the most transformative items on this entire list. Total for seasonings and flavor, about $56. We are over our $300 target at this point in the raw math. So let us talk about what we cut and what we kept to bring the number in. The adjustment we made was to reduce our canned salmon from 8 cans to 6, and our canned sardines from 12 cans to 8. That brought us back to exactly $302. The $2 gap was covered by choosing a store brand for one of our hot sauce bottles. $300 accounted for before we do the full daily eating walkthrough. Let us also talk briefly about 2 items we included in the emergency fund, things that are not technically food, but belong in any serious pantry build. The first is a 90-count bottle of daily multivitamins, about $10. No matter how carefully you plan a pantry build, you will have nutritional gaps. A daily multivitamin is insurance against deficiency-related health issues in a situation where a doctor visit may not be easy or possible. This is not optional. The second is a large container of instant coffee, about $12. This is a morale decision for both of us, not a nutritional one. A hot cup of coffee in the morning when everything is difficult is worth more than the calories and caffeine it provides. Morale is a resource. Protect it. These two items are not in our $300 food total, but we are mentioning them because any complete build should include them. Now let us talk about what a real day of eating looks like from this pantry. Because this should not feel abstract, it should feel like actual food. Morning. Both of us start with a bowl of oatmeal, rolled oats cooked in water, with a drizzle of honey if we have it, or just a pinch of salt and a small pour of coconut oil to add richness. That is approximately 300 calories each, 600 total coffee alongside mid-morning. A tablespoon or two of peanut butter, straight from the jar or spread on a piece of flatbread. If we have made some, about 200 calories each lunch. A pot of lentil soup made with dried lentils, a can of crushed tomatoes, garlic powder, cumin, a bay leaf finished with a splash of apple cider vinegar served over white rice. That is roughly 600 calories each, 1,200 total for both of us, and it provides a substantial amount of protein, fiber, and vitamins. Afternoon. A small can of fruit split between us, about 100 calories each. A small psychological lift in the middle of the day that costs almost nothing. Dinner pasta with canned chicken and crushed tomatoes, finished with a generous pinch of chili flakes, a drizzle of olive oil, and a splash of soy sauce for depth. Approximately 700 calories each. Real food, satisfying food, not emergency rations. Total daily calories for both of us, approximately 3,600. We are above our two-person target of 3,600. The math works. There are several questions that will come up about this build, and we want to address them before you ask. First, how do you store $300 worth of food for two people? The honest answer is that a dedicated section of a closet, a few heavy-duty storage bins, or a basic shelving unit in a basement or garage will handle most of this. The principles are consistent: cool, dark, and dry. Heat is the primary enemy of long-term shelf life. Keep your storage away from direct sunlight, and away from any appliances or vents that produce heat. Invest in airtight containers for the bulk grains and legumes. Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers will extend shelf life significantly for rice and oats. Second, what about water? Both of us need water to cook almost everything on this list. Rice requires water. Dried beans and lentils require substantial water, both to soak and to cook. The general guideline is 1 gallon per person per day for drinking and basic sanitation. For two people over a year, that is approximately 730 gallons, which is an entirely separate project from this food build. Look into water storage barrels, gravity filtration systems, and local rainwater collection regulations if you want to tackle that next. Third, what do you do with this food if you never need it in an emergency? You rotate it. First in, first out. When you add new cans to the front of the shelf, the older ones move to the front to be used first. Cook from your stockpile regularly. Make the lentil soup, open the canned chicken, use the pasta, replace what you consume. This is a living pantry, not a museum exhibit. Fourth, what about cooking fuel? Several things on this list, particularly the dried beans and lentils, require a significant amount of cooking time, and therefore fuel. A propane camping stove with a supply of extra canisters is the most practical backup cooking solution for most people. A solar cooker handles slower, lower temperature cooking well, and several items on this entire list: canned beans, canned chicken, canned tuna, peanut butter, canned fruit require zero cooking at all. Here is what we would add if we had an extra $50 and could do this build again. The first addition would be more canned protein, specifically more canned chicken, and an additional 8 to 10 cans of salmon. The protein category is where two-person builds feel the constraint most acutely, and any additional budget should go there first. The second would be more flavor variety. Specifically, a jar of dried oregano, one of turmeric, and one of cinnamon. Turmeric goes into rice and lentils and has documented anti-inflammatory properties. Cinnamon makes oatmeal taste like breakfast rather than obligation. Oregano opens up an Italian flavor profile that the current build does not have. The third would be a supply of instant mashed potato flakes. They store well, cook instantly, and are one of the most reliable comfort foods available from a pantry build. 2 dehydrated potatoes rehydrated with hot water and a spoonful of oil and salt is something both of us would actually want to eat on a hard day, and that matters. The fourth would be a supply of crackers, not for their nutritional value, which is modest, but because eating everything as a bowl of something for 365 days is psychologically taxing. Having something to put food onto rather than always eating from a bowl is a small quality of life improvement that has an outsized effect on whether both of you are actually doing. Okay, let us close with something important. Most people do not build a pantry until there is already a reason to need one, by which point the shelves are empty, the prices have spiked, and the window to do this calmly and affordably has closed. The two of us know this not because we are catastrophists, but because we have watched it happen, more than once, in more than one kind of crisis. $300, one shopping run. 1 year of food security for 2 people. The math we walked you through today is real. We have done it. The food exists in our storage area right now. And if something goes wrong this year, economically, logistically, personally, we are not scrambling. We are not panicking. We are ready. That readiness, the calm that comes with knowing both of us have 12 months of food accounted for, is not something you can buy at any price once the moment arrives. But right now, on an ordinary day, it costs exactly $300. Every item we purchased today will be listed in the description below, including exact quantities, the stores we found the best prices at, and the approximate cost per category. If you found this useful, subscribe, because we are building more than just a pantry here. We are building a channel about practical, calm, realistic preparation for 2 people in the real world. If you have built a pantry for 2, or if you are starting one and have questions about what we chose and why, tell us in the comments. We read every single one of them. Stay ready.